welcome to today's vlog. I'm about to go out now to an open garden day in the village of Steeple Ashton, which I'm really excited to go to because I went there for a walk not long ago and I saw posters all over the village saying that today there's going to be events and stalls and you can walk around the gardens, which just sounds like a dream. So I'm about to head there now and I'm really looking forward to it.
To see from the moment we arrived. Cornelia, you are one who will survive. When time's been bad, you put smiles on everyone. Think of you and of all I should have done. I don't mean a thing what shape or form that you're in, the place you're from, the wealth or the color of your skin, and all you have burns to the sky. It's all too late. You wonder why, Cornelia.
These gardens are literally the prettiest gardens I've ever been to. They're stunning, incredible. Oh, it's just so much inspiration for when I have my own garden one day. I want to do it just like this. Honestly, this is magical. Have you ever seen such beautiful gardens?
Your every day is a struggle and a strife. Don't you agree? With beating hearts, we're still alive. There comes a time when all you have is who you love. Cornelia.
These must honestly be the most beautiful gardens I've ever walked in. I'm not surprised this village has an open garden day because it's incredible. I love it, and like I said, so much inspiration, so much beauty everywhere, and I wish this could be my garden. I'm just gonna move in, that's the end. It's decided. This is unreal. They even have a lake with a red bridge.
You'll be all I'm thinking of. You don't mean a thing what shape or form that you're in, the place you're from, the wealth or the color of your skin, and all you have burns to the sky. It's all too late, and you wonder why, Cornelia.
Today I have something really exciting planned. I'm going to go to the town of Glastonbury because it's supposed to be a really pretty town and I've never been there before, and they've got the Glastonbury tour which is on the hill, and I'm going to go and have lunch outside and just enjoy the day because it's a bank holiday today in England because of the Jubilee. So there's 4 days that people have off, which is really lovely, and I'm about to head there now. But first, before I go, I want to just show you the progress of my strawberries because lots of people have been asking me about how they're going, and they're actually really healthy. The plants have gotten really big and there's strawberries. So have a look. As you can see, the plants are really big and healthy. They're doing so well. And here, there are plenty of strawberries. So my plant is thriving. I'm so happy, and got my first one that's red and ready to pick. So I'm about to pick it now and try it, and hopefully it'll be good. Get it off the plant. There we go. So my first strawberry from my strawberry plants, and it's a little bit stunted. The other ones have grown a bit more normally. This one, the shape is a bit odd, but it's fine. It doesn't matter if the shape is funny. I'm sure it will taste amazing. So here goes. Oh my god, that's like the sweetest strawberry I've ever had in my life. The variety was called Florence, I think. Yeah, it was Florence. Florence strawberries. If you're looking for strawberries, get these. They grow really well, don't require any care whatsoever apart from watering them regularly, and once a week I put that organic feed on that I showed you when I planted them. And oh my god, so sweet. So yeah, that was a success. And now I'm ready to go out and enjoy the day. My first impression of Glastonbury is that it is one of the most unique towns I've ever been to. It is certainly quirky with its hippie shops, fun brightly coloured buildings and the smell of incense in the streets. Located in the county of Somerset in rural southwest England, this ancient town has been inhabited since Neolithic times and is surrounded by myths and legends. For centuries it has been a popular pilgrimage site, both for medieval Christians and for modern pagans in search of the divine feminine. The spiritual nature of the town lingers today, with it being popular amongst people of all faiths, including some which are less common, for instance the Glastonbury Order of Druids and members of the Glastonbury Goddess Temple. So I've made it to Glastonbury, and it's quite an interesting town, very strange, lots of interesting shops. It's very spiritual with like stones and incense, and it's very unique, but it's been interesting walking around. And now I'm coming to the Abbey to have a look around, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I've been wandering around the Abbey, and it's really cool because it's ruins, so it's just what remains of the Abbey, and I'm just sitting right by it. You can see it behind me. It's beautiful, and it's so moving to walk in places like this, imagining how it was before. And I've stopped because I've gotten a honey and ginger ice cream, a local ice cream. I actually know where this farm is. I pass it every day when I drive to work, and I'm just enjoying it with the view of the Abbey, and it's so nice. Glastonbury Abbey, perhaps the most mysterious abbey in England, shows evidence of a church on this site for at least 1,500 years, and of people occupying the site for even longer. The monastery was amongst the richest in England during the Saxon times, and the abbey became one of the top pilgrimage destinations of the Middle Ages. One reason for its popularity was the discovery of King Arthur and his queen's bodies in 1191 by monks who found the remains on the south side of the Lady Chapel. A burial ceremony was conducted in the presence of King Edward I and Queen Eleanor in 1278, and many people came to visit the tomb. Some of the medieval monks even went as far as to assert that Glastonbury was Avalon. Today the legend is largely dismissed as a tactic to raise funds for repairs to the abbey, which was damaged due to a fire in 1184. The history of Glastonbury Abbey plays an important role in British culture and tradition. St Dunstan, once an abbot here, wrote the coronation words used during each ceremony, and which were last used for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, our current queen. Even William Blake's popular hymn, Jerusalem, is said to be written about the story that a young Jesus, accompanied by Joseph of Arimathea, visited Glastonbury. Christian legends claim that the abbey was later founded by Joseph during the 1st century. Also linked to Joseph of Arimathea is the story of the Holy Thorn, which grows at Glastonbury Abbey. According to legend, he landed on the island of Avalon upon his arrival in Britain and, exhausted by his climb up Wariel Hill, he stuck his staff into the ground and rested. He was surprised to find the next morning that his staff had miraculously transformed into a thorn tree, which now flowers each year at Easter and Christmas. What's really cool is that King Arthur was buried at this church. In fact, lots of kings and queens were buried in Glastonbury because it was such a special location, but they still have King Arthur's tomb, so I just saw his grave, and there were even flowers laid there, so people are still visiting and laying flowers, which is amazing. It's so peaceful here. I love walking in places like this where it's just calm and peaceful, and I think it's an orchard. It's full of lots of trees, and there's a lake and birds, and it's really nice. And the weather's really nice. So that ice cream really hit the spot. It was the honey and ginger one, which is quite a unique flavour. So yeah, it was really nice. It's an orchard because I can see apples, really tiny ones, growing on the tree. so cool. So this must be like the historic orchard that belonged to the monks when they lived here, because obviously the monks had their own kitchen gardens, and there's a little model of how the abbey used to be before obviously it turned into ruins, and they did have a kitchen garden, so I'm guessing this was their orchard because all the apple trees are really big and developed, but it's really, really pretty. The extent of the wealth of the abbot of Glastonbury Abbey is evident through the abbot's kitchen, a sign of power and splendour. Today it is an example of one of only 3 surviving medieval kitchens in the world. However, this wealth did not last. Before the dissolution of the monasteries by King Henry VIII in 1536, there were over 850 monasteries, nunneries and friaries in England. These were all seized by the Crown, and by 1541 there were none left as they were all sold or destroyed. I was just walking past the St. John the Baptist Church, which is like the main church where all the pilgrims used to come to when they came here in the medieval times, and I was so lucky that exactly when I went past the church there was an organ concert, so I just sat into the organ concert and it was really lovely to watch, and there were lots of pieces that I recognised and I really enjoyed it. Like there was a really good one by Ralph Vaughan Williams, and one by Elgar, the pieces, and it was just really good. So yeah, now I'm just leaving Glastonbury. So now I've come to Glastonbury Tor, which is like a tower at the top of a hill, and I can see it in the distance and it looks really high up. I'll show you where it is. So there's a big hill and the tower is up there. And it's looking pretty steep, so I know this is going to be a tough climb, but it's going to be worth it for that view. So I'm starting to make my way up. Wish me luck. I'm through this kissing gate into this field, and look at how steep this hill is. It's literally just really big and steep, and I'm starting to get a bit scared because I'm already out of breath and it doesn't look like I'm anywhere near the top. It's actually really hard to find the way up to the Tor because the paths are really overgrown and it just randomly winds through these woods, and I don't really know where I'm going if I'm going the right way because there's no signs. I'm just randomly walking through some paths, but I can see it at the top of the hill and I think I'm getting closer, so I'm just going to keep going. So I'm getting there, nearly at the top. Up to the Tor, I am now inside. The view is incredible. So yeah, this is the highest point in Somerset or something like that, so it's really windy, my hair is just going wild, like I can't control it, but it was worth the climb up because the view is amazing and the tower is really cool, so I'm glad I came. It looks like someone's had a bonfire here. You can see the burnt bits in the middle and then the logs that have been placed around as chairs. Quite a cool spot. You got the tower just behind me there and quite good views, but I'm not going to hang around for long. I'm going to head back to the car quickly. So to finish off this video, I'm just going to do a little Q&A because I asked you guys to send me some questions a long time ago and I've never gotten around to actually answering them, and I've screenshotted them, so I've got them on my phone and I'm going to answer. And I was originally going to do this as a whole video, but I got lots of questions, which I'm really thankful for, but they're basically lots of the same questions that lots of people have asked, so it wasn't enough for a whole video, but I'm going to answer a few now. And a lot of them are to do with my opinions of different countries, of different cities, and like travel tips and advice and things like that. So I'm obviously happy to share that, and so let's just dive right in. First question is, what is your favourite country you've been to? And my answer, I can think straight away of my favourite country. That's a really easy answer for me. It's Italy. I adore Italy. That's why I started learning Italian, because after my holidays there, I've just fallen in love with the country. I love the culture, the people. They're so warm and friendly, and the food is amazing. I love that. Not just that the food tastes good, but also their focus on having natural, healthy ingredients, and everything's done traditional methods, homemade, handmade food, and it's just really pure and natural as well, so it's better for you. So for example, with me, I often find that I struggle to digest bread and like foods with gluten in and things like that, pasta, but when I go to Italy I never have any problems. I can eat pizza, I can eat pasta, and I'm fine, and that's literally to do with the ingredients. So I obviously respect that about the country as a big foodie. And just the country itself is beautiful. I love it's got such a variety of landscapes, so obviously beautiful seas in the south, and then as you go further north they've got the beautiful countrysides through Tuscany, and then even further north they have the amazing mountains and lakes like Como, and like, you know, the Alps, and it's just such a range in that one country. And the most important part for me is the art, the music. So people like Vivaldi and Puccini, you know, incredible music coming from this country. And the art as well. So I love Botticelli and like the Birth of Venus. You know, there's just so much going on. It's such a rich country in terms of culture, and I love Italy. So yes, that's definitely my favourite country that I've ever been to. Next question is, what country would you want to live in when you move in the future? So that's kind of linking to the first question. If I could live anywhere in the world, it would be Italy. I love Italy. For the same reasons that I've just explained. If it wasn't Italy, then probably another country that has similar weather. So yeah, the main reason I'd want to live there is obviously the sun, because I feel like I thrive when it's hot and sunny. So I'd love to live in a warmer country than England, because as much as I love England, the rain is a bit depressing, basically. So if it wasn't Italy, maybe the south of France would be nice, Provence. That's another option, that would be really good. And obviously the fact that I speak French would help me with that move. It'd be a bit easier, but probably one of those two countries. Next question. Would I ever permanently move to Paris? So after the exchange there, I loved my time there. I loved, you know, the rich collection of museums and art galleries that are there. There's always something to see and do, different exhibitions coming up. And you know, it's just such a beautiful city. I loved living there, and I would love to have been able to live there for longer, so maybe like a few years I could live there, but permanently I don't think I could live there, because I prefer the countryside and nature, and I feel like Paris is obviously a big city, so it's a bit polluted, it's a bit noisy and busy, and in the long term I'd like to be somewhere a bit more peaceful. But for a few years I would love to live in Paris and just make the most of everything that the city has to offer, and I loved the experience I had there. So I really enjoyed living there. And as a big city, I feel like it hasn't got too much of a big city vibe. It kind of feels like there are some places that you go that feel more like a small town with like the narrow cobbled streets and things like that. So Paris is, I didn't know how I would feel living there, because I was a bit apprehensive about living in a big city for the first time, but I really loved it. So a few years, yes, permanently no. And then, do I prefer living in Bath or Paris? That's a hard one for me, and I've thought about this a lot, because people have asked me since I've come back to live in Bath which place I prefer, and I don't really know how to answer, because I feel like there's more to do in Paris. Obviously it's a bigger place. Bath is a very small city, and there's like 2 art galleries and they're very tiny, and so there's not as much to do. But then there are lots of like concerts, and there was recently the Bath Festival, which is a literary and music festival, and there were lots of events going on for that. And I'm lucky that there's a really nice cheese shop and a really nice bakery near where I live, so I still have access to good food. And it is more peaceful, because Bath is a heritage city, it's protected and it's surrounded by countryside, so I've got a lot more access to countryside for country walks and things like that. It's a tough one for me. If I had to choose which place I prefer, I'd probably say Paris, but I love both cities very much, so it's very close. It's nearly a draw, but if I had to say probably Paris, I prefer a bit more. Next question. Would I recommend the Erasmus Exchange, and why? 100% yes. If you get the opportunity at university to do an exchange, do it. That's what I would say, because honestly, that exchange is probably one of the best experiences of my life, and I'm not exaggerating or anything. Like, I gained so much from it. I made so many friends. I feel like it developed me more as a person, because I became so much more confident and independent through the exchange and living abroad on my own for so long and things like that. So I feel like it was just an amazing opportunity, obviously, as well, for improving language skills, for learning about other cultures, like spending Christmas in Paris, learning about how the French celebrate it, and obviously the other French traditions and celebrations that came up through the time that I was there. It was just an amazing experience, and I would definitely recommend it. And obviously, as an exchange student, I feel like there's not as much academic pressure, because you kind of just trying to pass each unit, and the rest of the time you have to explore the city you're in, explore the country and enjoy it. So, you know, it's just such an incredible experience. So 100% recommend it if you get the opportunity. Next question. What do I think of the University of Bath, and what do I want to do after graduation? So the University of Bath, I think, is a very good university. It ranks really well. It's like, for architecture, it's actually the top university in the UK. So it's a really good university, and I feel like the organisation is really good, and the quality of teaching is really good. The facilities for architecture are amazing, because the building is new and each student has their own desk where they can work constantly on their project, which is one thing, for example, compared to the University of Paris. I love that university, but it was difficult to find space to work sometimes because it was quite small and the facilities weren't as good. So like, you didn't have your own desk, you kind of had to just find somewhere to work in the school. But yes, you have your own desk. It's a great building, and it's just really supports the students. So it's a really good university, and obviously studying in Bath, it's an amazing city to study architecture in, because the buildings are amazing, and it's famous for its architecture. So you can learn a lot just by walking around the city. And what do I want to do after graduation? Well, architecture is complicated, because after my 4 years I'll get my Bachelor of Science, but then I'll have to carry on to be qualified as an architect. You have to do REBA Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3. So after my 4 years I'll get my Bachelor of Science and I'll have achieved my REBA Part 1. REBA stands for Royal Institute of British Architects, and then I will need to do a further 3 years. So 2 years will get me the Part 2 and a Master's, and then 1 more year will get me the REBA Part 3. So I've got quite a lot of studying to do after graduation. But then I suppose after my final graduation, when I complete the 7 years, I don't know, because I'm quite open. I'm not very narrow-minded. I'm always willing to take whatever paths life presents to me. So I guess at the moment the plan is to become an architect. That's why I'm studying architecture. And ideally, because I'm interested in historic buildings, I'd love to work in conservation architecture. But I'm open to different things. Obviously, I'm open to traveling as well. I'd love to move to a different country in the future, perhaps one day. And I don't know how easy it would be to find a job as an architect in another country. I guess architects are needed everywhere, so that would be one way to move, but I'm open to other things. I love art, so I've always wanted to maybe pursue a career that's more artistic, perhaps like interior design, which is kind of linked to architecture, or like designing wallpapers and fabrics and prints. That would be an amazing career path. So like I said, probably it would be something still linked to design, but whether it's architecture, I don't know. But at the moment, architecture is the plan. Obviously, that's why I'm studying it. But that's, yes, what I'm thinking to do. Lots of these questions are Paris related, so I'll do one more because I don't want to spend too long just talking. But if you're going to Paris for the weekend, what are your must-see places to visit? So I would say there's a lot in Paris, so maybe narrow it down to like types of places you want to visit. So maybe, because there's so many parks, so many museums, so choose the categories, like maybe a few parks you want to visit, a few museums, and then that way you get a variety. So my favourite museums are maybe the less touristy ones, because the ones like the Louvre obviously are amazing to see the Mona Lisa or whatnot, but they're very overwhelming, and I find that I enjoy going to more intimate art galleries and museums more. So I love the Musée Jacques Marandré. That's a beautiful one in a beautiful building. I love the Musée d'Orsay, which is larger and more well known, but I don't know, I feel like it was not as overwhelming as the Louvre. And I love the Musée Carnavalet, which is actually a museum about the history of Paris. That was really interesting. And the Musée Cognac, which is a museum filled with like 18th century French paintings like Fragonard and that kind of style of painting, which is one of my favourites, and it's a beautiful building as well. Musée de la Vie Romantique, that's a really beautiful museum as well. So they're my favourite museums from my time there. And then obviously French parks, French gardens are really famous all over the world. They're beautiful. So going to somewhere like the Jardin des Tuileries or Jardin du Palais Royal or something like that would be really good to add to the list. And then I would say just wander the streets and just explore. Go somewhere like Le Marais or the Latin Quarter and just walk around and admire the architecture. That's the best way to take in Paris. And I find that when I travel, I like to be more spontaneous, so I don't necessarily research restaurants or cafes I'm going to go to. I love to just wander around in an area and stumble upon somewhere beautiful that draws me in. But while you're in Paris, I do recommend researching bakeries and going to some of the best bakeries, like Le Valentin is a really good one, Angelina's. Where else did I like? Obviously La Durée is well known. But somewhere just to get really good French food and trying local specialities, because food is a great way to discover a country. So yes, that's what I would recommend doing if you go to Paris. And also obviously things like theatre and music are amazing there. So when I went last time, I went with my friend Ruben to a candlelight concert in a small church and it was amazing. While I lived there, I also went to a concert where there were singers in a church singing like traditional choral pieces, and it was for free. So something maybe a bit less, if you've got a smaller budget, then that's a great thing to do. But if you have a high budget, then obviously going to the opera, like the Opéra Garnier or something like that, to see a show. So when I lived there, I went to see the Marriage of Figaro, and that was incredible because the building itself is beautiful, and you can go there as a tourist, which I would really recommend as well. Add that to your list, going to the Opéra Garnier. But yes, going to see an opera there is obviously doubly as special. So that's, yes, what I would recommend if you visit. So I hope you enjoyed listening to me answering your questions, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like it and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye!